Welcome to Political Empire. I'm Duane Gang from the Press Enterprise and PE.com. We have a good show for you today. We're going to talk to Jim Miller from Sacramento about the Democratic State Party Convention this last weekend in San Diego. Plus, later in the show, we're going to talk to our Washington correspondent, Ben Goad, about Nancy Pelosi and how her role, or what her role will be in the upcoming elections in the inland area. So we got a good show for you today. We're going to start with Jim on the phone from Sacramento. Jim, how are you today? All right, appreciate it. So you were down in San Diego this past weekend for the Democratic Party Convention. Tell me a little bit about what went on there. These were the endorsement caucuses. I understand in a couple races in our area, it kind of got pretty heated, some of these caucuses. What happened?
Right. Yeah, I mean, there were, at the convention, there were speeches from various party leaders, but then there also was some drama involving inland candidates seeking the party's official endorsements for races this year. In the 35th Congressional District, after a pretty testy caucus vote, Representative Joe Baca and Senator Grady McLeod were tied Saturday night, which would have meant no endorsement. Both sides challenged some ballots cast by the other. But then early Sunday morning, the party's credential committee acted on some of the challenge ballots, and the result was that Congressman Baca got a 25-24 caucus vote and ended up getting the party's endorsement.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So now, after all, he's the incumbent member of Congress, of course, not technically from that district since they've all been redrawn, but he'll get the actual D next to his name on the ballot. Is that kind of how it works come November?
They both can list their party preference as Democrat. What the congressman will get is a special designation that he is the endorsed candidate of the California Democratic Party.
Right, right. Well, which could carry a lot of weight in a district where the battle ends up coming down to being between two Democrats. Now, there was another interesting race, endorsement battle, so to speak, at the convention this last weekend. Two Democrats are running against Assemblyman Jeff Miller, a Republican, for this 31st State Senate District, which is here in our area. The two Democrats, Steve Clute and Richard Roth, were seeking that endorsement to battle. Jim, tell me a little bit about that one. This one seems to be really interesting, and a lot of drama took place in this over the weekend.
Right, right. And unlike the 35th Congressional District, which is safely Democratic, the 31st is expected to be a swing district this fall, with both parties competing very heavily in it. And Democrats in the state Senate feel very strongly that Richard Roth is the candidate who has the best chance of winning in the fall. And something that was maybe a little out of the ordinary, Senate President Pro Tem Darrell Steinberg personally came to the 31st Senate District caucus Saturday night at the convention.
Yeah, so he came there, and he, of course, was urging delegates to support and vote for the endorsement of Richard Roth, correct?
Correct,
right.
Correct. And he made some remarks. He actually spoke on Mr. Roth's behalf to the delegates.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. We've got a little video clip here of what Senate Pro Tem Darrell Steinberg said at the convention. We're going to play that clip now.
I am here. It's that important. It's that important that you either support Mr. Roth, or if you cannot do that, go no endorsement and let the voters.
Okay, that you just heard it there. That's Senator Darrell Steinberg. Now, Jim, where was Steve Clute in all this? Some people will be like, well, was he in the room? I mean, that could have been like not the most easy thing to listen to if you're him. Where was he during all of this?
Mr. Clute was about 15 feet to Mr. Steinberg's left. I think you could actually see him in the video. Excuse me, actually see him in the video there listening as Mr. Steinberg urged delegates to vote for Mr. Roth or not to vote for anyone at all.
Right.
And so it was a little awkward, perhaps.
For sure. Okay, so that was the Democrats meeting this past weekend in San Diego. Jim, are the Republicans going to hold a similar convention where they do endorsements? I mean, what's on tap for the Republicans going forward?
The Republicans have their spring convention in a couple weeks in Burlingame near the San Francisco airport. The Republicans do not do endorsements in the same way Democrats do. So what is currently on tap is the delegates in Burlingame will hear from former Speaker Newt Gingrich, as well as former Minnesota Governor Tim Pawlenty, and it's also expected that other Republican leaders will be there. So that should be interesting as well.
All right, sounds good. Jim from Sacramento, appreciate taking some time to join us on the phone today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk to our Press Enterprise Washington correspondent, Ben Goad, so stick around. We'll be right back.
We cover the issues you care about. Here at the Press Enterprise and PE.com, local news matters whether you live along Route 66 or on Main Street. We provide regional analysis and in-depth investigation of issues like education, transportation, the environment, and much more. Important matters are covered here. That is how we keep you connected to your community. The Press Enterprise and PE.com. For home delivery, call 1-800-794-NEWS.
Welcome back to Political Empire. I'm Duane Gang of the Press Enterprise and PE.com. We're joined on the phone now by Ben Goad, our Washington correspondent. Ben, thanks for being here.
Terrific to be here.
Okay, so over the weekend, the Democrats had their state party convention in San Diego, as we earlier discussed with Jim. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi was there. Ben, what's your sense? How active is she going to be in congressional races here in California? Obviously not only her own reelection efforts, but those of others.
Well, so far she's been very active. As you know, Duane, Democrats have to pick up 25 seats to win back control of the House in November. And that's a very tall order. But Pelosi, as the top House Democrat, has been very vocal about her belief that it could be done. She was, as you said, at the convention last week and in in San Diego, and she pointed to some California races that she felt are winners for the party, including one here in Riverside County.
Yeah, that's the 41st congressional district where Mark Takano is running as the Democratic candidate. We've actually got a video clip of her talking about that race, and let's play that one now.
Here we are, and John mentioned California's battleground. It's what's the theme of the convention is Battleground California. And for us, in our effort to win the House for the American people, it indeed is a battleground. We have many opportunities here because we were able to out-recruit the Republicans to run candidates who are real problem solvers. We have at least three places where the primary is decided. Starting down south, Mark Takano, who is a teacher, going up toward Central California, Jose Hernandez, an astronaut, actually the first Hispanic astronaut, Ami Berra up north, who is a public health doctor. We are very, very proud of them. We believe that they will be joining the ranks of the Democratic majority come November. And again, we expect to do even more than that, but at least in those three cases, to amass the drive for 25 to take.
So Ben, Takano's name was mentioned there quite a bit. What was his reaction to being mentioned so many times by the House's top Democrat?
Yeah, he was mentioned both there and in a speech that Pelosi gave to the convention as well. And I talked to Mr. Takano last night, and he told me he's glad to have Pelosi's support. But some people argue that it could be a liability, especially in places like Riverside and San Bernardino County, which are, of course, more historically more conservative, more moderate than the state as a whole. You'll remember that criticism of Pelosi and her policies when she was Speaker were a big part of the GOP message 2 years ago, and they won a landslide victory and they took control of the House. So, one Republican operative I spoke to earlier this week said he welcomes her involvement.
Now, you know, the Democrats are really going to make a big effort to try to regain control of the House, and Nancy Pelosi is probably going to be a principal factor in helping Democrats in that effort. Where does California play in all of this? I understand that she actually mentioned some of this. Is California going to be kind of on the national stage for the Democrats?
Certainly, you know, presidentially speaking, it's considered a solid, safe blue seat for Democrats. But as they look to try to get to 25 seats, they're looking squarely at California. Apart from the 3 seats she highlighted in the clip just now, Democrats see several other seats in the state where they have a chance to increase their numbers, and between California and a handful of other states, New York, Illinois, maybe Texas, they think they can get half the 25 they need to retake the majority.
Yeah, over the weekend, she gave a speech at the party convention where she talked about how California could play in the Democrats' national efforts to regain control of the House. Let's take a look at what she had to say.
And in this election, California is set to play a starring role. The theme of this convention, Battleground California, says it all, because the road back to the House majority runs through California. Our state represents key opportunities to pick up seats and send more Democrats to Congress.
Okay, so that was Nancy Pelosi talking about California and its in the Democratic efforts to regain control of the House. Now, Ben, what about fundraising? Is she going to be active in helping candidates across the state raise money this year?
Nancy Pelosi is an absolute powerhouse when it comes to fundraising. Last year alone, she appeared in more than 400 events and raised somewhere in the neighborhood of $26 million for the National Party, according to the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. And that doesn't even count her support for individual candidates out of her Political Action Committee and her personal campaign account.
Yeah, she was actually asked about fundraising at a news conference there at the Democratic Convention this last weekend. That's our final clip. Let's take a look at what she had to say when she was asked about those fundraising efforts.
A lot of money. Well, it depends on what we need, because, you know, in other words, we have to win in the country. I don't want to go for 35 and get 24 because I overreached, right? So 25 is the number, and so we will, our candidates here will not be underfunded, but if they don't need the money, we have other places. But a large amount of the money that is raised in California, and we can say this where others cannot, a large amount of the money that will be raised in California will be spent in California. So
that's what she had to say about fundraising efforts going into this year's election. We should note that those the video clips of Nancy Pelosi, those were provided by the State Democratic Party. It's definitely going to be an election to watch. So Ben, appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk with us on the phone from Washington today.
Thanks for having me, Duane.
Sure. Okay, that's it for this edition of Political Empire. We appreciate you guys tuning in and watching it. As always, pick up a copy of the Press Enterprise or go to pe.com for the latest political news out of Riverside and San Bernardino counties. I'm Duane Gang. Thanks for watching.